I am Will I Am, and I make time to read the Wall Street Journal.
Now, first off, you were recently named CEO of Publicis Media. Yep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What makes you... Yeah, not shabby. Come on. What makes you the chosen
my wife.
one? Oh, that was you. That's right. Why were you chosen?
I don't really know. I think, when, we this whole transformation on our side, and I was saying to one of my colleagues at breakfast, I wonder how many times the word transformation will come up, and I stopped counting at about 20 mentions of transformation after about 2 minutes this morning of the first session. The whole of Publicis has last September, we took the whole of our management team to San Francisco, and it's really out of that the group decided to have a sort of complete reorganization, really around clients. I think we really recognized that if we were going to sort of disrupt the industry and transform ourselves, Publicis is an 89-year-old business. We really needed to have a complete radical transformation. And we've created these 3 solutions groups, one for creative, one for media, and one for digital and consulting. And for reasons best known to Maurice, my boss, Maurice Levy, he's given me the task of trying to coalesce our digital media and digital assets. So I'm just at the beginning of that journey. Why he's appointed me, I don't know, and I guess the proof will be in time.
Oh, good luck with that. And then looking back at your time as Zenith Optomedia, what has changed?
Yeah, I think, when we started, it was interesting. When we started Zenith, whatever it was, 25 and a bit years ago, in London, it was Zenith Media Buying Services Limited, and we were the first company to sort of take the media out of the creative agencies. That's all we did. We did media buying. We didn't have pretensions to do anything else, and everybody said this would never be successful. And then we sort of rolled that out into the US. So certainly one thing that has changed, I think everyone recognizes the media specialists are very much here to stay, and have got a really important part to play in terms of the sort of ecosystem that we work in. I think, when I look back, and it's interesting, because I've just taken on this new role, really been doing it for about 8 weeks, so it's given me an opportunity to go and talk to some of our clients, some of, obviously, our key management, travel the world, and really an opportunity to sort of think about how our business has changed, very much to your question. Yeah. And, when we started, it was really about scale and insight. It was about just trying to leverage media dollars as much as possible, and then combine that with market intelligence in order to get, effective media execution. And when I look at all the different things that we're doing, and everybody in the room is now doing for our clients, we're doing econometrics and data and analytics and technology and social and digital and content and all these different areas. At one level, the business is extraordinarily complex, and the type of talents we've got is so disparate. But in fact, when I look back, the reality is it's still about those same 2 things. It's about scale and insight. And it's the application of those 2 things. And I think something that we have perhaps lost sight of is that clients come to us in order that we can simplify the world of communications. And I think something that I'm thinking about right now as we look forward to our new organization is how can we simplify our business, because we have so overcomplicated it and made it almost impenetrable. So it's not surprising that some of the clients are sort of challenging their current sort of relationships.
So despite all the tools at your disposal, it's about simplification, it's about scale, and it's about insight. Let's dig into digital advertising for a moment here. There's talk about, in the next year or 2, this is the cusp. This is when we're going to see digital advertising spend outpace that of TV. I'm not going to ask you for you to confirm that or to look into the crystal ball, but with digital advertising, there's a lot of promise. There's also a lot of challenges with ad blockers, with fraud. What's your thinking on the promise, opportunity, and also the challenges of digital ads?
Yeah. I think it's when you talk about digital, it's almost impossible to separate digital from the rest of media. Yeah. In our case, we have about 40% of our revenue comes from digital. So, but the issues that you mention, ad blocking and fraud and bots and addressability and viewability, are absolutely issues which I'm very minded to trying to have strong, compelling solutions to, because as we've heard earlier about trust and transparency, I think one of the biggest issues we've got is if I was a CMO, I would be really challenging about the investments I'm making in digital, and are we really getting the same sort of promise of execution that we were getting, when we were buying in, analog media and magazines and billboards. You could see and feel that the media where that was going. Yeah. And I think, that there is unfortunately now, the level of bots and fraud is not known. In campaign, this month, there's a very good feature talking about what the industry needs to do, and I think that's something certainly I'm looking to address very much in our new organization and in my new role.
And we have the push to mobile, especially increasingly all of us in here in this room, everyone around the world, just spending more and more time on our smartphones and our mobile devices. Big drivers of that, Facebook and Google, Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and I'm a Google Plus holdout. There are not many of us out there, but let's say. But recently, you interviewed Sergey Brin, one of the Google guys. What was that like? What did he reveal to you in relation to the industry?
Yeah, I think that was a tough interview, I can tell you, interviewing Sergey Brin. So that was at that meeting that I mentioned in San Francisco, and we did a similar interview where I was the interviewer. Yeah. And it's just incredible that that organization and where that company's has gone, and that dominant position they've taken in search. So absolutely, we were talking about some of the challenges they've got in terms of mobile, the way that they think of communication and advertising. You see some of the changes that Google has announced just this week in terms of the way that they're limiting some of their communication messages. But then, what was really interesting is the way he's taken that businesses into life sciences and driverless cars, the sort of vision that he's got for using that Google now in Alphabet. I mean, really just an intellect that was so challenging and dynamic. It was really an honor for me.
Yeah, and as digital advertising grows, how much more will the industry rely on technology platforms? I'm asking about programmatic advertising. I mean, how critical a role is that going to play?
Yeah, I think, one of the issues that we have in our industry is that we actually have diseconomies of scale, and I'm sure all the other leaders of the media agencies will recognize this. Our business has just about trebled in size over the last 10 years. And yet the number of people that we employ has gone up about 3.5 times. So, and the reason for that, it's actually become more expensive because of the cost of execution, because of the fragmentation that's happened, and that's really happened in digital. So we're obviously challenged because of the way that the clients, the downward pressure on costs. We're effectively unusually in a situation where our sector is growing. It's probably doubled over the last 5 years, the total headcount in the industry, and yet we're actually behind in terms of the use of technology. Programmatic or machine-based learning absolutely gives us a line of sight to being able to address consumers based on specific customer journey and where they are. So rather than just if you're trying to communicate to, for a car manufacturer, rather than just say we're going to advertise, knowing that at most 1%, it's actually 1% of your target audience is actually going to be attainable. If you could actually reach that person, known because of previous behavior, obviously that's a huge advantage in terms of delivering our ROI. So I think programmatic for us is the first time both it gives us an improved ROI for our customers, for our clients, but also it's a way potentially of helping us use technology to make our business more efficient.
Yeah, a huge return on investment as you follow the customer journey, right, with programmatic ad buys. You do so across multiple platforms, following the consumer as he or she ventures from one app or from one destination online to another. And then it gets into the debate about big data and the mass collection of data and core moral principles about how much you're willing to exploit. Yeah. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think we've got 9 minutes left, and I can tell you that probably the biggest issue facing us is this whole area of data, and you see sort of news stories about the sort of use of data the whole time, and I think the good thing is, despite news stories to the contrary, I think clients increasingly look to us, to the media agencies, to help them. We're arguably in the best position of anybody because we sit at that sort of center of the ecosystem. We understand about the consumer. We understand about the brands. We definitely have a very strong relationship with the distribution channels, the digital channels, and we've got the opportunity to use data in a really compelling way. But of course, the clients themselves are wary about using that data internally themselves with their customers, and also how a third-party company like ours uses that data on our behalf. And certainly, I've just spent last 2 weeks in the US. All of the clients that I want to see, the usage of data, we understand that that's a huge way of emphasizing and amplifying their ROI, but there's also huge issues which can, come back and bite them if it's not used extremely carefully. And we're beginning at that journey.
Yeah, and it's definitely part of the conversation.
Definitely.
Separate but kind of related, Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, recently taking a stand on encryption against the FBI. In the last few weeks, we've seen a number of CEOs stand up, and with the exception of Bill Gates, the CEO of Facebook, Twitter, Google, even Huawei, the head of consumer group of Huawei, Richard Yu, have said that, we side with Tim Cook. Where do you side on this debate of, that's been cast as privacy versus national security?
I mean, this is to do with the terrorist attack in the
San
US
Bernardino shooting in December last year.
And Apple being reluctant to unlock the phone. So, I mean, I think that just shows how it's a hugely charged emotional debate. On one side you've got, surely, it becomes a politically charged event. You saw Trump raise this and called for a lobby against Apple.
Right. He's
so,
definitely siding against
it's
Apple.
a very difficult subject. And you can see that, and I can understand why Apple have taken that position. But you all can see it. It seems to cross that sort of moral divide about what is the right thing to do, but also they're trying to protect their customer base.
I'm Carly Kloss, and I make time to read the Wall Street Journal.